Start. Welcome back, guys. After discussing about the SA nodal action potential, now let's discuss about the ventricular myocyte action potential. I have already told you that this SA node is the one who generates the electricity, and this electricity or these action potentials are going to spread from one cell to the other cell. Okay, you know the action potential is going to start from the SA nodal cell. From the SA nodal cell, this action potential, it will come to the AV node. From the AV node, these action potentials or this electricity will spread through the bundle of His. Okay, bundle of His. And from the bundle of His, this action potentials are going to, this electricity will go into the Purkinje fibers. Okay, from the Purkinje fibers, this electricity is coming and touching the myocytes, let's say. So here I am showing you, let's say this is the ventricular myocyte. Now, from the Purkinje cells, let's say this electricity is coming and touching. Okay, this is the stimulus. See, these ventricular myocytes, they are having a resting membrane potential of, what is the resting membrane potential value? The resting membrane potential of the cells is, let's say, minus 90 millivolts. Okay, minus 90 millivolts. What is the resting membrane potential of the SA nodal cell? Minus 60 millivolts. Here it is minus 90 millivolts. Okay, and always remember, this resting membrane potentials are due to the potassium efflux. Okay, 95% is because of the potassium efflux and 5% is because of the sodium potassium pumps. I have already explained this in the SA node topic. Now, see what happens. Whenever this voltage, whenever this electricity is coming and stimulating this myocyte cell, this is a muscle cell, whatever you are seeing here, this is a muscle cell. Now these muscle cells, they are going to open, okay, these muscle cells, they are going to open the sodium channels. So these sodium channels previously which are closed, now the sodium channels are going to open. Now you tell me, whenever the sodium channels are opened, who will come into the cell? Positive ions, sodium is going to come into the cell. So because of the influx of this positive ions, sodium which is a positive ion, because of the influx of the sodium, the voltage within the cell from minus 90 millivolts, it will become positive. Let's say, for example, here is minus 90 millivolts value. This is minus 90 millivolts value. Okay. Now what's going to happen? Because of the sodium influx, this resting membrane potential, okay, from minus 90 millivolts, it will straight shoot up. Okay, something like this. So this is called as, this line which I am showing here, this is resting membrane potential. This red color thing is the resting membrane potential. And the line which I am showing here in the green color, this is the depolarization. So now tell me, this resting membrane potential is because of what? You know, resting membrane potential is because of the potassium efflux. Potassium is always going out of the cell. That's the reason for the resting membrane potential. And tell me, what is the reason for this depolarization? This depolarization is sodium dependent due to sodium influx. But think about the SA nodal cell. In SA nodal cell, the depolarization is due to, see, this is SA nodal cell, and this depolarization is due to calcium influx from the L-type calcium channels, long-standing calcium channels. So depolarization in different cells is due to different ions. In some cells, depolarization is due to calcium. In some cells, depolarization is due to sodium. In some cells, depolarization is even because of the potassium also. Okay, so depolarization can occur because of the accumulation of positive ions, and that positive ion can be anything like sodium, calcium, magnesium, potassium, or anything. Okay, so now in this ventricular myocyte, yes, the cells got depolarized. Okay, the cells got depolarized. Now once cell is having this positive voltage within the cell, now this sodium influx will start to decrease. Sodium influx stops, I should say. Sodium influx stopped. Now cell will open potassium channels. So cell is opening what? Potassium channels. So potassium channels opened. Okay, we call them as a delayed rectifier potassium channels. So potassium going out of the cell. Okay, potassium is going out of the cell. So you tell me, when the potassium is going out of the cell, the positive charges are losing, positive charges are going out of the cell. So voltage will start to decrease. Okay, will start to decrease. Voltage is now coming down. At the same time, suddenly what happens? You know, sir, on this cell, the calcium channels will start to open. Okay, so who is opening? Calcium channels opened. So who is coming into the cell? Calcium. Okay, after the depolarization, see, after the depolarization, now cell is repolarizing. So now during the time of the repolarization, what happened? Suddenly calcium channels opened. So at the same time, potassium, which is a positive charge, is going out of the cell. At the same time, calcium is also coming into the cell. So at the same time, positive charges are going out and positive charges are coming into the cell. So for a brief moment of time, the voltage within the cell is going to be like a constant, like a plateau. So this phase which I am showing here in the yellow color, or you can say orange color. So this is called as a plateau stage. That's a plateau stage. So you tell me, plateau stage also called as a phase 2. That is due to the efflux of potassium as well as influx of calcium. And you know, this is a calcium. See, now who came into the cell? Calcium comes into the cell. Now this calcium will help in the contraction of the muscle. This is a muscle cell. So what is the purpose of this calcium? The purpose of the calcium is to cause the muscle contraction. Okay. Yes. First cell is a depolarized. First electrical event. First cell is a depolarized. Now after the depolarization, the cell have to contract. Okay. See, don't think that during depolarization cell is contracting. No. So once depolarization completed, now after depolarization, calcium will start to come into the cell. After depolarization, the calcium will start to come into the cell. Because of the calcium, the muscle will contract. This cardiac myocyte, the ventricular myocyte will contract. Okay. So now plateau phase completed. Now after some time, this calcium influx will start to decrease. Calcium influx stops. So who is continuing? Now who is continuing? Potassium efflux happens as usual. Okay, potassium is going out of the cell. As potassium is going out of the cell, the voltage slowly decreases again. Okay, decreases and coming back to the resting membrane potential, resting membrane value. So now tell me, in total how many phases are there here? So here in total there are 5 phases. 5 phases. One is resting membrane potential. Okay, which is called as a phase 4 resting membrane potential. After that, depolarization. There is repolarization. This is all repolarization. Now this first part of repolarization is called as a early repolarization or initial repolarization, and this repolarization which I am highlighting right now, this is called as a late repolarization or delayed repolarization. In between this repolarization, there is a phase of plateau. During the phase of plateau, at the same time potassium is going out as well as calcium is coming in. The potassium efflux is balanced by the calcium influx. So that's why the voltage within the cell for a brief amount of time, it's going to be constant. Okay. So how many phases are there total? In total 5 phases are there. Look at here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total 5 phases are there. Okay, 5 phases are there. Now let me write all these 5 phases one by one in your book. Right. Sir, what are the 5 phases? The first phase 4, that is a resting membrane potential, and you know resting membrane potential is due to potassium efflux. Resting membrane potential is always because of the potassium efflux. Okay. Next, depolarization, rapid depolarization is due to sodium influx. Initial repolarization, I have told you, initial repolarization is due to potassium efflux. Okay, sodium influx decreased, number 1 event, potassium efflux started. Next, a phase of a plateau. During the phase of plateau, potassium efflux balanced by calcium influx. Both are balanced. Okay, both are balanced. Next, late repolarization. As usual, repolarization is due to potassium efflux. Okay, so these are the different ions responsible for the different events in the action potential of the ventricular myocyte. Now, having said that, how you can expect an MCQ in your FMG exam or NEET PG exam? The question is, depolarization of SA node is dependent on calcium. Depolarization of ventricular myocyte is dependent on sodium. Okay, sodium dependent. Next, during plateau phase, what happens? During plateau phase or phase 2, potassium efflux is balanced by calcium influx. Okay, in one of the recent exam, okay, in one of the recent NEET PG exam, this question was there. See, before explaining you that question, let me give you some basic understanding. Okay, let's say here there is a cell. This question was important. First I will tell you the concept, later I will show you the question. Let's say here is a cell number 1 and here is a cell number 2. And you know, cells are bags of what? Potassium. Cells are bags of potassium, and imagine there is only potassium there inside the cell. Okay, let's say only potassium is there. We are talking only about the potassium ion. So potassium is there more inside the cell and less outside the cell. Okay, less amount of potassium outside. So always potassium want to move from high concentration to low concentration. So tell me, when the potassium is going out of the cell, you can very clearly say the cell is losing the positive charges. So cell is becoming negative. The cell is becoming negative. So how much negative? Due to the potassium efflux. As the potassium is going out of the cell, it will create a negativity within the cell. That's okay. How much negativity? A negative value of minus 90 millivolts. Minus 90 millivolts. So this minus 90 is called as the potassium isoelectric okay, isoelectric potential, okay, or you can say equilibrium potential. See, every ion has its own value. For example, like potassium. Now I am asking you, what is the equilibrium potential of the potassium or the isoelectric potential value of the potassium? As the potassium is going out of the cell, it will try to create how much negativity within the cell? It will try to create a negativity of minus 90 millivolts. Okay, till the time potassium is going to go out, later equilibrium will attain. Okay, so this is the potassium value. Now in the same way, let's say chloride. You know sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is more outside the cell. Now I am talking about the chloride ion. What is the equilibrium potential of the chloride? Let me tell you. See, as the chloride is more outside the cell, chloride will start to come into the cell from high concentration to low concentration, high to low concentration. Tell me, chloride is a negative charge. As the negative charges are coming into the cell, it will again create negative voltage within the cell. How much negativity? Chloride will try to create a negative value of minus 70 millivolts. So this is the isoelectric potential value of a chloride or equilibrium potential value of chloride. So every ion, potassium, chloride, magnesium, sodium, every ion has its own equilibrium potentials. That I will discuss later in next topic. But right now here, what I want you to know is the MCQ. Resting membrane potential of myocyte. Which myocyte? Ventricular myocyte. Okay, resting membrane potential of ventricular myocyte is equal to equilibrium potential of dash. So this is the question. So you know the resting membrane potential of the myocyte, how much? The resting membrane potential of the myocyte is minus 90 millivolts. Okay, tell me. So now resting membrane potential of a ventricular myocyte is equal to the equilibrium potential of potassium, because I have told you potassium equilibrium potential value is also minus 90 millivolts. Just now I have told you here. Now in one of the exam, the examiner played a trick. That is, look at this. Resting membrane potential of myocyte is near to equilibrium potential of near to. See, they are not asking exactly equal. Near value, near to means minus 90 is something near to minus 70. So it's near to the equilibrium potential of chloride. Okay, how much is chloride value? Minus 70 millivolts, something like this. Okay, so this is how you can expect an MCQ. Next step. Having said that, what else you should know regarding this action potentials topic? Guys, you know the action potential is going to start from the SA node, from the SA node to AV node to bundle of hairs, Purkinje fibers and ventricular myocytes. Okay, and later the muscle will contract. The question which was already asked in the exam is, your heart is made up of how many layers? First tell me. Your heart, let's say this is a ventricle. Okay, I am showing you only one chamber of the heart, let's say. This is the left ventricle I am talking about. See, this left ventricle, it is made up of how many layers? There are 3 layers. Okay, the entire heart, there are 3 layers. What are the 3 layers called as? The innermost layer which I am highlighting here. So this layer of cells, these are called as the endocardial cells. Endocardium. See, there is endocardium and there is a myocardium which I am highlighting here in the blue color. This is the muscle layer. Okay, myocardium. This whole layer is the myocardium, and outside there is pericardium. Okay, here is the pericardium. So now which cells are going to undergo first depolarization? The first depolarization is endocardium. See, always a depolarization means electrical activation. Depolarization is always from in to out. Means the endocardial cells are first to depolarize, followed by myocardium, followed by epicardium. But God made our cells in such a way, which cells will repolarize first? It's the epicardial cells. It's the outermost layer of the heart. It's the epicardial cells will undergo repolarization first, because they are made in such a way. Okay, so repolarization is always from out to in. So one is from in to out and other is from out to in. So that's the same thing which I have highlighted in your book. Okay, see, important points. Depolarization is from endocardium to epicardium, and repolarization, this repolarization is from epicardium to endocardium. Have I already told you this MCQs? Resting membrane potential of myocardium is equal to potassium isoelectrical potential. The cell membrane has a maximum permeability to which ions during resting conditions? Potassium. But if I ask you something like this, if I am talking about the myocyte, during depolarization, the cells having maximum permeability to, during depolarization of a myocyte, the cells have the maximum permeability to sodium. So sodium will come into the cell, which is causing the depolarization. Okay, but during resting states, the answer will be potassium. Okay, having said that, with this we have completed the action potentials of the ventricular myocyte also. Okay, hope the video is helpful. Thank you.